Hey everyone, you're listening to Dirt Grow Podcast with your host, David Burma. All right, this is pretty exciting here. I'm now with another co-farmer, a neighbor farmer, not too far away, about 30 kilometers. And it's really interesting, really cool, because I've never actually met this gentleman. And I'm excited to hear the background, the story, and see where this goes, because I don't know much about your past, your history, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm here with Joe Wecker. He's a crop, cash crop
pretty much
farmer down in Chatham, right?
Yep.
And you have a little bit of story. Everybody has a little story in life.
I got a long story. Yeah.
So tell me, Joe. You're just touching base. So you're not from Canada originally.
No. I actually grew up in Germany, southern Germany.
Really?
And did all my schooling there, high school, college. Started my master's there.
Masters in what?
And actually organic farming.
Organic farming.
But I did not finish. I went through the first half and then I quit.
Wow. So were you raised on a farm in Germany?
Yeah, we go back. I think we can trace it back to 1761 or something.
Really?
So that's far we can trace it back.
That's really cool. So what would were you raised on a large farm, smaller farm, or what size the farm would have been?
Well,
compared
back
to Germany?
then it was a large farm. Back then, but
yeah.
now it's not anymore, right? Everybody's growing, so yeah.
So what would have been a large farm back then?
Back in the 80s, it was 60 hectares, 250 acres, right?
Yeah. And so you'd had some animals?
No, we had some pigs back then, but I can't remember that. And then my dad turned, actually, in the 80s, he turned organic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I grew up with that mostly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so then you moved to Canada?
Yeah, in 99, we moved to Canada, actually into Alberta.
Okay. And so you were married by then?
No.
No?
That's where I found my wife.
Okay. Alberta.
Alberta, yeah.
Wow.
And
so you moved here, what age would you have been?
I was about 20.
20.
Yeah.
And you just said, hey, I want to experience something else in life?
It was a family decision. We came on holidays, actually, and it was beautiful. Came twice. I said, I'm not going back because I can't. Like, it's way too nice, right? So it's just... then my dad said, you know what? We'll go back and then just forget about it. And he came back and bought a farm.
So he came there here too?
He came back and
bought
a farm,
he loved it too?
Yeah, he was 45 when we moved, yeah.
Oh, wow. So is he still farm?
He's semi-retired.
Semi-retired, yeah. Interesting. And so... Tell me the story of Alberta. How that all happened? What was the first farm that he bought? What size was it? What he buy?
About 2,700 acres.
Really?
Rented about 3,000-4,000 on top of that.
Yeah.
A lot of hay production, Timothy hay.
Okay.
We had a big feedlot. We rented out.
Oh wow. When you say rented it out, what does that mean?
Well, the feedlot was ours, but we rented it to a custom feeder.
Okay, but
we grew silage.
No,
we grew silage. Grew the high moisture barley for it.
Yep.
But didn't own the cattle.
Yep.
Or didn't take care of the cattle.
Yep. And
we did that 7 years, and then in 2007, land was dirt cheap in Saskatchewan, right? And we thought, you know what? Maybe we should move to Saskatchewan. And that's what we did.
And that's the whole family again?
Yeah.
Really?
Sold in Alberta and bought quite a bit of land in Saskatchewan. Like back then, you were able to rent land you just paid a tax and you can have it.
Really?
And then the government changed, right? And Saskatchewan started booming, after that.
Wow. And so how much land did you buy in Saskatchewan?
We had 9,000 acres.
You bought?
Yeah.
And then you rented on top of that?
We rented for a little bit, another 3,000.
Yeah.
So we're up to 13,000.
Yeah. So you farming practice would have changed a lot?
No.
We were doing a lot of hay before?
Yeah, we still had canola and barley and wheat. It didn't change much.
So what percentage would have been hay versus like a grain cut crop?
Maybe
back in Alberta?
Maybe 15-20%.
Was hay?
Yeah.
Oh, so it was a small part.
Smaller part.
Got it. And then go to Saskatchewan. It was
Durham, canola, lentils, lots of lentils.
Really?
Yeah.
So soybeans, no.
No soybeans.
Corn, no.
We tried soybeans. And it was
didn't work.
not too dry.
Too dry.
Yeah, too dry in August. When
Oh.
pot fill.
Oh, really?
Yeah, lots of, and then flax, mustard, peas.
Wow.
Like I think there was 1 year we had 13 crops. Just diversified, lots of intercropping, mustard and peas together.
Really?
Flax, chickpeas together.
So how do you intercrop? You take it off 2 different times? You harvest 2 different times?
No, you gotta choose. The right varieties so you can come on at the same time. Yeah.
And then how do you separate the crops afterwards?
You separate it afterwards,
Really?
yeah.
With a separating machine?
Cleaner. We built seed cleaner.
So you go in, plant 2 crops at the same time. You plant one and then plant the second one.
No, we plant 2 at the same time.
Wow.
So, for example, we knew how to grow yellow mustard, right?
Yeah.
And it was great. And
Yellow mustard's for mustard.
for your yellow mustard.
Okay.
For
Yeah.
hot dog mustard, whatever. And then we felt like then a friend of mine started, and we looked into it, and he said, we can grow specialty peas with the mustard. The problem with the specialty peas, they were high dollar, but right before harvest, always go flat, right? So I said, let's put them in with the mustard. The mustard will hold up the peas.
Yeah.
So we have 2 crops in one, or one
Yeah.
and a half crops
Yeah.
in 1 year, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we did.
And it worked.
It worked great. We did flax and chickpeas. Worked great, and by then, I started to turn those 9,000 acres into organic in Saskatchewan. I can't remember the year was, maybe 2014, maybe. We can talk about why.
No, I'm going to go there, but I'm just curious a little bit more. So you're planting these peas. Are they dry after when they harvest?
Yep.
They're dry.
Yep.
So the peas are too, and so they're totally different sizes, and it just kind of
Yeah, you
falls
just
out
have
really
to
easy?
pick the perfect size so you can actually separate them. You can't do let's say black lentils and wheat because you can't separate them.
right,
Mustard and peas super easy to separate.
right.
Chickpeas, flax, the same.
Yeah.
And what we actually found was, if you grow chickpeas with flax, we didn't have to use any fungicide on the chickpeas. There was something going on with those 2 crops where the disease wasn't there. And a normal chickpea crop, you spray 5, 6, 7 times, right?
This is wild because you're like pioneering all this stuff.
No, well,
Like what makes you think, okay, I can do this or I can do that, and I can do, switch this up. Like here, if someone wants to try something different, like let's try canola, they take 3 years to decide.
yeah. Well, it's just the way, there was.
How many failures do you have in trying new things?
There wasn't many failures because
Really?
there's always something growing, right? Sometimes, and it's actually quite interesting. Sometimes in a field, there's 80%. You try to do 50-50, right? But sometimes the field pushes out
Right.
80% mustard and only 20% peas,
Right.
and then there's areas in the field that's the opposite.
Right. It's really weird. Eh?
So it's super weird, yeah.
And do you think that was just because of the moisture environment,
Just the conditions,
condition,
the
or
soil,
just
and
nutrients and other things
Yeah.
that motivated one crop versus the other?
yeah. So on average,
Wow.
it was great, right?
Yeah.
Just you have to separate it after.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so how do you go to market with that kind of stuff? Like are you shipping that stuff like 1,000 kilometers to go to market?
No, there's local buyers that contract
Really?
mustard, and yeah.
Really? Because you don't even hear those crops around here.
Yeah, I'm surprised because there's actually you import quite a bit. We import quite a bit into Ontario from out west, and I'm surprised there isn't mustard growing here because I think it would grow well. Short season crop,
Yeah.
doesn't need much, right? Nutrient wise. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a good move going to Alberta, Saskatchewan.
It was a good move farming wise.
Yeah.
Lifestyle wise, Saskatchewan is tough.
Tough.
Yeah.
It's just because you're so isolated.
You're so isolated. I mean, we were 45 minutes southeast of Regina, so we were still okay. But if you're 2 hours away from a big city, it's tough, right?
And so closest town? How far are you?
Closest town was only 10 minutes.
10 minutes. And how many people would be in that town?
300.
300.
Yeah.
So when you get to like a 3,000, how far are you going to go for a town of 3,000?
You gotta go where we were. You have to drive 40 minutes.
So it's might as well just go to Regina.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Right.
Regina was the closest one.
Right. So 300 people, would you get an arena in there? Hockey arena?
Yep.
Yeah. And you'd have a grocery store?
Just gas station.
So not even a grocery store?
No.
Wow.
So life is not much to do, right?
So yeah. So you're not really buying vegetables in the wintertime, are you? Or you?
No, it's the same as here. You just go to grocery store.
Yeah, but you have to drive 45 minutes. You just accept that and you just go get it in 45 minutes and go get it and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Yeah. Okay. All right. So you just drive and you just get expectation of like 45 minutes is just a normal thing.
Normal.
You just drive that, get that done. And how was it for like parts for equipment and that kind of stuff? Was that not bad?
Yeah, same. It just sucks when you get the wrong part and drive home and find out, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So most of the stuff would have been in Regina or would have been. Yeah. Interesting. So how many years in Alberta? How many years in Saskatchewan?
We were 7 in Alberta.
Yeah.
We were 15 in Saskatchewan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah.
7 15. So then you said, okay, let's go do organic now.
You know, the way we started, that's not how it started out. It's so we were hardcore conventional farmers.
Yeah.
Split application nitrogen, 2 passes of fungicide.
Yeah.
And the one year I said, you know what? We are working all year, and it seems like the more we do, the less we take away, right? The less we take home. And I saw some issues starting with disease in lentils, especially with the high fungicide use. And back then I didn't know about it, but the high rate of glyphosate we used. And actually that glyphosate started me into going less fungicide and less glyphosate. I had no intentions to go organic, right?
Say it one more time.
So we started seeing root disease severe in lentils and other crops.
Yeah.
And the story started actually like that. We were growing Pioneer hybrid canola, right?
Yeah.
And we had a field day, and one former sales guy, we were standing in the field and talking, and I talked to him about lentils, problems with lentils, and he said, ever heard of Don Huber? I said, never heard of Don Huber. So I looked him up and watched some of his videos and said, you know what? I think I'm overusing some products I shouldn't be using or shouldn't be overusing. So I actually threw out the next year all my GMO canola and went to Clearfield canola. So I can use less Roundup and, switch it up a bit. And that turned into no canola and into organic farming.
So I'm trying to follow the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you finding that you were doing all the work and you're not getting the yield response because you're getting disease pressure because of the glyphosate was creating other effects to the soil, which then affected the plant? Is that where it was? That what's happening?
Yeah. What we found was, so on the lentils we had Fusarium root rot.
Yeah.
One rain, lentils gone. 640 acres, one shot of rain, right?
Yeah.
Is that there's something going on, and it's not rotation, because those fields I had them on were fine with rotation. Then I came on to Don Huber, and then there's some studies that were out of Swift Current from Ag Canada, is that every time you use glyphosate, you increase the rate of Fusarium, or the possible rate of Fusarium on your crops. That started me out on that journey. And then a couple years later, I actually went to a course called Nutrition Farming. And that's actually when it clicked. Because I realized everything we're doing in ag is treating symptoms without looking at the cause, right?
Right.
And it's not only
Typically
ag.
how the health, it's a healthcare system too.
The same thing.
Yeah,
like, perfect, right? So that's when that's when really, that was my missing link.
Right.
And that's when we actually switched to high input, like twice fungicide, insecticide, all of those things. That's when we switched and went exactly the opposite and said, how much can we cut without losing any yield? And that's when we actually started having fun again farming. You know, before we were told what to put on, when to put it on, when to haul it in, and whatever was left, enough to try it again the next year, right? And it just, the fun was gone for me.
Right. So you're an organic farmer today?
No, I'm not.
Why not?
Weeds are growing way faster in Ontario than they ever did in Saskatchewan.
Say that again?
The weeds in Ontario, they grow way. But
yeah.
no, the reason is there's too many factors, and that's without throwing the organic side under the bus.
Yeah.
There's too many factors on the organic side that they don't allow me to do things that should be done.
Right,
like
right.
Over cultivating.
What you're saying is that their restrictions shouldn't be so. They're not necessarily. How do I say this? What you're saying is their restrictions they have are not what you assume would not be actually a health concern, but are too restrictive to get results necessary to get a good crop. Is that what you're saying? Like they're how I say another word, like they're what you have to do, and they're in your restrictions that you have, create an atmosphere that you maybe not is not what you're looking for in the crop.
What I'm looking for. I'm looking to grow a crop that's healthy,
right?
That has the nutrients.
Yeah,
it does. Like on the conventional side, we supply those nutrients.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
On the synthetic side, on the organic side, we do it with either manure, which is not available out west, or through biology.
Yeah.
In the ground, there's enough nutrients we can farm a long time.
Yeah.
But we need to unlock those nutrients, right? And that's only through biology.
Right.
Even synthetic fertilizers mostly has to go through a biology.
Right.
A biological process.
That's right. This is why the whole biological thing is kind of like taking off, because people think there's some energy behind it, but they don't know where it's going to come from, because people are selling everything from snake oil to maybe something that's legit, right? Yeah, and they're trying to figure out what's the legit and what's the snake oil.
And it's a living organism, right?
Right.
And it's 10 years ago we started, and people were laughing at us, right? Mm-hmm. Now everybody's selling it, even the big guys, right?
Yeah. So you use biologicals?
I do use biologicals, and I try to stimulate biology in the ground. And I think the biggest reason why biology is not always working in different, like it's not, this is what you use and this is what you get. Because you have some soils that are healthy biology-wise.
Yep.
So you don't see any return on that. And it's the same in your body, right?
Yes.
If somebody's really healthy, you can give him probiotics.
That's
doesn't
right.
matter.
Right.
You don't see it.
Yes.
If somebody is not, you see it right there.
Right. It's kind of funny too. On that topic, I remember we have 4 pieces, right, on one property. Nice dirt. And the farm that yields the best every year has the lowest nutrient values. Mm-hmm. Right, and you really have a hard time increasing the nutrient values because of the uptake of the crop. It it's so productive and so good that it just keeps on consuming the nutrients, and the takeoff is so high. And it's kind of funny because basically in a field, I mean you can correct me if I'm wrong because I don't do much science here, but what I've noticed is the fields that actually don't have it's a real simple fact on that is nitrogen. Mm-hmm. If you have a field that not a real good growing, heavy clay, all that kind of stuff, the amount of nitrogen you need to put down to create an average crop there is the same amount of nitrogen you have to put down for this field that's going to create a great crop, because the ability to get to the source of the nutrients of nitrogen, plus I'm sure there's organic nitrogen that's being released every year because of how healthy the soil is, right?
Yep.
So.
On those, and that's, you need always more on the heavy ground because of the calcium, magnesium, right?
Right.
And tight soils.
Yeah.
You don't get as many roots.
So are you, you seem very fascinated in this kind of stuff. Are you always learning still in this area? Or you got to kind of figure it out where things are at and what you got to do?
The more I learn,
yeah,
the more I realize I don't know much.
That's always the answer.
If somebody's going to tell you they know it all, you just turn around and walk the other way, because we don't know.
Right.
We don't even know 97% of what's going on in the ground.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So don't tell me you know it all, right?
Right.
We're trying to figure it out. And and actually, what I've learned in college, I had to unlearn again.
Really?
Because 50% was complete BS, right?
That's amazing what you're saying. I think that's a take home, honestly, because I think people need to realize that in all their education. In all their education, they're getting the normal education we're getting today. 50%, like you said, is BS.
You
right?
just have to figure out which 50%.
100%. And I think that also is the educational thing that we have to do for the rest of our life. Is on being able to understand and understand what is actually the truth and what's not the truth.
Yeah, and
right?
And if you had an opinion before and you thought that was the truth, and you find out that wasn't, just go out and say it.
Yes.
Listen, I told you the best to my knowledge, but it changed.
Yes.
And this is what I think today.
Yes.
And I might change that
again tomorrow. Yes.
But that's
it.
Never say you know it all.
That's right.
Because that gets us into trouble, right?
I love that. But you know what it also doesn't stop us to do? To still have opinion today.
Yep, you can have your opinion.
That's right. Because that's what creates dialogue, and that's where we learn from. Right? And I think that's the issue. Actually, in our company, we started doing some work through the book called The Five Dysfunctions of the Team, right? Mm-hmm. And the bottom's trust, and the next one is conflict, right? And there's a few more. But anyways, conflict is a huge part of knowing how to deal and address conflict and work with conflict and bring out conflict in the team. It makes a healthy team. Mm-hmm. Why? Because you have one opinion, I have one opinion. Well, something's going to come from this that we're going to find some kind of truth.
Yep.
Some level of truth,
that's
right?
That's exactly what's missing really anywhere in our
100%.
whole life, right?
100%.
We can't talk about it anymore.
Right.
We can't discuss it anymore, and we can't walk away as friends, right?
Exactly.
And I've been guilty on that. I push so on the GMO crops. I push back so hard. Yeah. I turned a lot of people off. And said, it's not my position. Like, I changed my mind.
Yeah.
If it's good for you, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I don't need it, right?
Yeah.
And that's I think that's gets us into a better situation.
And that topic's kind of interesting too. Heard something saying that in US now, there, because of the GMO crops needing so many different sprays now, because the ones they were using were not effective anymore because they overused them, just like you were talking about. That a lot of people are going back to IP soybeans, especially trying to get that little premium with the markets, with the commodity prices dropping. And I smiled because it says, okay, let's say in America, like I've just heard rumors, it's like $2.50 premium in some places, and it might be just a non-GMO, it might not be a full IP soybean, but whatever, it doesn't matter. For a very little premium, now they're willing to go and switch everything up. So the lesson I have in that is that, well, I thought these salesmen that were selling these GMO soybeans were telling us that we're getting so many more bushels to the acre. And if that was the case, we wouldn't switch it up for such a small premium. And it just kind of humorous to me, because when things get squeezed a little bit, the farmer will start looking at the actual numbers and finding what the truth is and saying to himself, well, what, like, they always tell me there's actually extra 4 or 6 bushels the acre or 10 bushels the acre. Is there actually? Right?
I don't think there is, because if you take the corn, unless you have issues with spraying your non-GMO crop, it's the same parent variety, right?
Yeah, I agree.
The problem is I have 25, 30 varieties I can choose from on the GMO side, and they only give me 3 or 4 on the non-GMO.
That's right. That's right. They've invested way more into the GMO side.
Yeah, and that's where the money is, right? I mean,
I know. That's why they keep on doing it. Of course. But we run a IP soybean that in our area they haven't been able to build a variety that's competitive with the same amount of heat units, right? And so and we've asked this question, right? Mm-hmm. And when it comes down to it, there is no other variety that's competing for the same kind of yield for the same type of heat units. You know, you can always see, put something that's a longer heat unit, get a higher yield. That's obvious, but the same kind of heat unit is nothing, right? So I think that's kind of interesting and humorous. So I love that though. I love that. I love the fact that this is what our culture is so missing, right? Being able to have different opinions, right? And discuss that. And even it's difficult. That's what creates good relationships. Mm-hmm. That's what creates good workplaces, right? And that's what creates good communities, right? Be able to go sit down, discuss, see different opinions,
talk about it, and just walk away as friends.
That's
and
right.
It's
it's really missing. Yeah. So that's cool. So how many years were you organic? Were you fully organic down out in Saskatchewan?
We actually at the end the whole 89,000 acres were full organic.
Fully organic. Was that quite a workload?
It's a huge workload. Yeah. And especially when it's dry, right? We had 5 years of almost no rain, right?
Yeah.
And no rain, I'm talking, we had 1 year, we had one farm, had 3 tents.
So how does it even have the moisture to grow something?
Well, it's heavy soils that hold it on, but the crop isn't very good, right? No. And then you have to work the ground for weed control, and then the soil blows, right? And that's not good.
And you can't afford irrigation in there? There's no water in the ground?
There's no water.
There's no water.
No.
Huh.
And, we went into specialty crops like ancient weeds and einkorn and flax, and just to make just organic wheat and yellow peas just doesn't cut it, right? It's the premium isn't there. So we had to find specialty crops to get more premium. The same now, right? I have non-GMO corn, I have IP beans.
Yeah.
This year I quit growing soft red wheat and just get more premiums out of the soft white and hard red wheat, right? So just got to find crops that pay you some premiums.
Yeah. So would you ever go back to organic?
No, because the way we're doing it now, I have limited use of chemical right now. We're trying to cut fertilizer every year.
Mm-hmm. When you say trying to, what does that mean?
You can't cut cold turkey and just say, you know what, I'm going to cut it 50% and hope, because the biology is not there to back it up.
Yeah.
So first year, usually I say first year, cut 15%, add a stabilizer. Second year, cut another 15, and then you get a feeling where your yield is, plateauing out, where it's starting to drop. Add the stabilizer in anything you do. I use humic acid and fulvic acid. And
why fulvic? That seems like a natural product.
Fulvic acid?
Yeah.
On all the, if we cut Roundup, if we do use Roundup and we're trying to limit it, I'm cutting it and adjust the pH to as low as I can and use fulvic acid. It allows me to cut 40% glyphosate without any impact on killing the crops.
Why? How's that?
The wheat.
What's fulvic acid do to the Roundup?
Fulvic acid is it's almost like a accelerator. Gets it faster into the plant.
Interesting.
Even other chemicals, if you can use it on other chemicals, and it makes it.
It adds a little spike
better.
to it.
Yeah, it adds a little spike to it.
Why? What's fulvic acid? Just get
fulvic acid is part of that. Is derived from humic acid.
Okay.
It's for all the foliar spraying.
Yeah.
All if you put it through a sprayer, you want to use that fulvic acid.
Yeah. So right now you kind of look at it two ways. You say, hey, how do I use premium crops? So give me a premium, and how do I cut expenses?
Exactly.
And where are you? So you're focused on expenses on your chemical side, on your fertilizer side, and equipment. Can you do anything there much?
No.
I
mean,
so
I'm not.
Are you equipment guy? Like you love fixing equipment, having nice equipment? Is that your thing?
I hate fixing.
You hate fixing.
I love new equipment. No, it's,
all right. There's certain people that just love fixing, but that's like,
no.
that's like
No.
all right.
No, the thing is, we're not only doing it for the money, cutting the
Right.
costs. We're doing it for the environment.
I get it. Yeah. Well, you even notice how it damaged the soil and that kind of stuff, right? Not as far as growing crops, not really damage soil, but like as far as growing crops and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we just
Yeah. No, I
trying
get it.
to cut our footprint on the impact we have, right? And and it's a lot of fun. It's and I can tell you most of the time what to do on cereals, right? Coming here, grow corn, it's different. So I'm trying to ease my way into that and see where I can cut, what I can do.
Yeah.
But insecticide for me is completely out.
Yeah.
Seed treatment on soybeans, wheat, I don't use any. I make my own.
Sorry, seed treatment. You use your own?
I use my own, yeah.
What does that look like?
I use a biological
Okay.
that is for disease.
Yeah.
I use some kelp, add some kelp to it for stimulating the growth, and I'm adding wormy compost extract to it.
What do you call it?
Wormy compost, like worm casting extract.
Yeah.
To
the seed?
To the seed treatment,
okay.
Just to give it more biology to start out with.
Yeah.
Soybean the same. I don't use any chemical seed treatment.
Yeah.
Corn, I don't use insecticide seed treatment. I use fungicide still until I figure out what I'm doing.
You mean insecticide on the seed treatment?
I don't use any insecticide seed treatment.
Right.
Or
you don't
foliar.
And foliar either? Because you would typically have Western bean cutworm and stuff like that in your area.
Where we are, it's not as bad.
Are you on sandy or clay soil? What do you have
We're
down there?
both sand and clay. Yeah.
Okay.
Our rotation, I think, is spread enough.
Oh. And did you have, how about you're still using fungicide for the tar spot? Or do you have much tar spot?
We do have tar spot. I'm starting to use a biological as well. Same one that I'm actually using on the seed.
Okay.
I'm trying to cut the other fungicides back.
Yeah. And so what you're saying basically by using this biological is how can I help the plant instead of how to...
It's actually a fungus. You can call it a fungicide. What it does is it colonizes the plant that there is no room for any other fungus.
Oh.
So the real estate is taken up.
You're
choosing no room.
You're choosing the disease.
I choose the
not really disease.
I choose the fungus.
But yeah.
That doesn't cause any
disease. Yeah.
It works. It's the same timing. It works great in fusarium. It works great. I use it on wheat.
Was it effective on wheat?
Yep. It's like any other fungicide.
Really?
It outperforms other fungicides.
And it's a biological.
It's a fungus. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So we're trying to yet again cut the chemicals.
Yeah, and use a healthier option.
And you got to remember, as farmers, we know how to grow a crop good, right?
Yeah.
But we always forget what are we doing now, and how does it impact the crop we are raising, and how does it impact the ones that actually eat it? And there's studies out there that say, as soon as you use a fungicide and the growth regulator, that will stay in the seed, and will actually you eat it, and it goes into your blood. It's documented. So that's the reason why I'm cutting out. I don't use any growth regulators on my wheat or barley, and I'm trying to cut out all the chemical fungicide. It's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
If you do, that's great.
No, that's cool.
But for me, I'm trying to create as clean as the crops.
You know, I wonder, as you're talking about that, I wonder if us farmers probably don't spend enough time in our crops.
That's true.
I like looking from a road and looking
especially walking. You know, it's and I used to spray, right? I'm still spraying. Well, my son is spraying now, but I used to spray all my crops. And is that I know all corners of my fields. Is that I don't have to walk my crop, but you get way more walking your crops.
Hmm.
You know, it's
That's maybe the lesson. You know, go there and check things
yeah,
out
it's
more.
I don't know who said it. Was
Farmers usually plant it and then go on vacation, and then they come back to harvest, right?
yeah, the best thing you can apply to your crop is your shadow. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
yeah,
That's a good point.
it's- And
I love
yeah,
that.
that's how you tune yourself into it. And,
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
So, you were how many years? Did you say you were organic out west?
You know, I can't remember when we started. We
you-
started not all once, right? We
No. So
started-
how many years were you even certified? 1 or 2 years?
No, we were certified 5 for sure.
Certified 5
Yeah.
years. Oh, so quite a
Not
while.
on all
you're-
acres, but for sure 5 or maybe even 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So you're a long time.
Yeah.
So did you end up selling? Your dad still owns some land out there.
No, we sold everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, we got approached. We said, you know what? Why not?
Yeah. And so did you work closely with your dad the whole time? Like
Yep. Yeah, always.
always.
Yeah.
And you have a close relationship with him?
Yep.
Really? You get along?
Most of the time. But as my dad was my wife, like she's been driving combine for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Now my son, so
Yeah.
yeah.
That's really cool. Not everybody gets along with their father, so
Yeah, there's times, you know, you
Sure.
don't, but you just have to talk it out, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, or,
So who was a bigger risk taker, you or your dad?
now, I mean, I'm the only guy, like my dad is.
Yeah, but
pretty much
just-
retired, but
Personality wise, you're kind of about the same.
yeah, about the same. I
Yeah.
would say it was, yeah.
Interesting. So he was excited about moving. He was excited about moving the first time to Alberta, second time to Saskatchewan.
I don't know if he needed to leave too, yeah.
Oh,
but
okay.
I don't know if he wanted to go to Alberta or here, but you know the
Yeah.
thing is, if you want to go somewhere warmer, you have to stay in Canada for capital gains, right?
Yeah,
So there isn't many places you can move to,
right.
right? That's why
Right.
we ended up here, and
Yeah.
love it in Chatham. You know,
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
climate is good.
Yeah, so you moved to Chatham. So how many years now in Chatham?
It's 3 now, I think.
Oh, not many, eh?
No, 3
No.
or 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how'd you get started down there? Was there a large parcel that was available? You just had to buy one at a time?
You
and-
know, during COVID, we drove through, I don't know how many 1,000 kilometers I drove. And we started in Chatham because there was 300 acres
Yeah.
that were for tender.
Yeah.
And we said, you know what? Chatham is still cheap,
Yeah.
you know, kind of.
Yeah, compared to the rest
compared
of
to the
Alberta.
rest.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we said, let's start and we'll
Yeah.
just
Plus you get
add, you know.
further south
and
possible, you know?
No,
So
we
you-
have to turn land away, you know, because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
been good.
Yeah, that's good.
It's if
Do you
if
own most of the stuff what are you at? Like 50-50 rent own? Where you
No,
at?
we own 75.
75 you own, okay. Yeah.
And if you surround yourself with good people, it's
Yeah.
anything you do, right? It's,
It's so true. So
So-
true.
you know, I phoned 5 realtors.
Yeah.
Only one called me back,
There you go.
and that was the one I was supposed
right.
to be, you know, dealing with.
100%.
It-
Crazy, no?
It's,
Real estate is the funniest thing. Funniest thing. To find a good realtor, you should, with the amount of people that sign up to be a real estate agent, you would
Mm.
think that you would be more out there.
yeah.
And you know what's so interesting about it? It's like you just have to be real and honest.
Yep.
And you have to keep your values and your morals, and you'll have business for the rest of your life
Yeah.
as a real estate agent.
That's exactly the one of them.
And so often they get sold off. It's
Mhm.
like there's some deal they get sold off, and then it's just like their convictions or their I don't know. It seems like it just falls apart.
Yep.
It's kind of really weird.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. So we
Yeah.
found the right one, and
That's awesome.
you know, you just have to know where you want to be and almost like affirm and order. It's almost like ordering it on the menu.
Right. I love
You
this.
know, it's like, this is where I want to be and this is what I want. And
Right.
just, if you believe in God or not,
Yeah.
or the Spirit, just put it out there and
Yeah.
let it come to you. And
Yeah.
that's what, you know, that's, I think, any time in your life that if you do it, that works.
Yeah. Being
And-
clear on where you want to go and how you're going to get there, and
Yeah.
and And it's sometimes hard, eh? Like, I mean, you have this new idea, right? And it's like new territory, and it all works out on numbers. But then taking action, executing towards it,
Yep.
it's you have to have a lot of faith, right?
Yeah, and it's same with the farming. And the farming, we've been doing it right. It's like I have no idea what I'm doing,
Right.
but I know one thing: I don't want to do it the way I used to do it,
Right.
and just somebody show me, and then all of a sudden the right people show up, right? And you go from there.
So, what would your message be to the farmers out there? You know, you've taken a slightly different journey, right? And like you've done one thing, then you went organic, and now you're doing like I would call it it's like a, what do you call it? It's like a hybrid model now.
I don't know. We're trying.
You're
to
kind of mixing a little bit
towards sustainable farming, but we're not. I don't even know what that means anymore because everybody's using that.
Yeah, of course. But what would your message be for as far as what would you tell people to try? What would you tell people to do differently? What would you tell people to experience differently?
Oh, I don't know. That's tough. That's a tough question.
You're talking to a crop farmer, and he's the old Joe that was doing everything, whatever the salesman was telling him to do. Right? He's looking at the day, and he's looking at the numbers, and it's not looking real good.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell him to do?
Well, if we were just talking about that. The first thing we should be doing is change things in good years when you can afford it, because then you can.
But you can afford the mistake.
You can play with it.
Right.
Is that because when we change things, I said, why you change? Because most of the time you don't change until your back is up.
Oh
you
my
know?
goodness! Amen to that. Yeah,
So,
people don't like. You know what do people do? They get cancer, right? Go to the regular doctor. Doesn't work. And then goes back to the naturopath and says, you know what?
Exactly.
I'm on death's door. I'm looking for a miracle. Maybe you should have been working on that a little bit earlier. No, that's 100% true. So you could always try it on one field, right?
Try it on 10 acres.
Yeah.
You know.
And what would be the things I'm gonna try? What am I gonna do? Try cutting back on my herbicides. Try cutting back on my fertilizer. Add a biological. Try to find like what do I do? Where do I go?
I don't know. If I was gonna do it. If you want to cut fertilizer, it's fine. Add some stabilizer to it.
Yeah.
And even if you're not sure, just use the cost of the stabilizer and cut that on your fertilizer input.
Got it.
You're not out any money.
No, right.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it's really supposed to do what it says, I mean, you should be stabilizing your fertilizer, and it should be more available, right?
Yeah.
Herbicide, I don't know. I would start with the fertilizer.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah. But you talked about a few different things, folic acid, and then you talked about biologicals.
If you use Roundup, cut your water pH down. Like actually, Roundup works best at a pH of 3.
Really?
But that's not on the label, right?
Right.
And we are all, what's our water? 7, 8, 6
Probably,
and a half, 7.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of times Roundup is really not working great. If you cut the pH and all you use is a little bit of citric acid, it's cheap.
Yeah.
Adjust your pH, add some folic acid, and cut 15%.
Yeah.
See how it does.
Right.
You know, you do it on half a tank or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just play around a little bit. Listen to your gut. You know, it's most of the time it's telling you the right thing.
Mm-hmm. How do you the journey of biologicals? How do you ever determine what's one that's actually going to work and what's not?
Well, it depends what you want to do. You gonna? So first of all, if you start using biologicals, you also have to realize we got to stop killing it at the same time, right? Any fungicide, any Roundup is a antibiotic, right? We can spend all our money on biologicals, but we also have to realize how do we keep the ones we put there or we have. I mean, it's not that we don't have any biologicals left in us all. how do we feed them or keep them alive?
Got it. So this goes back to like whenever anybody that's like any little bit of knowledge, I don't see this in a demeaning way, but anybody that has any bit of knowledge as far as medical, they always say that you take an antibiotic, take probiotic
At the same time
to help
or
your
later,
gut
bring it
right
back,
afterwards, so that your gut gets back into condition.
Yep.
That's kind of what you're saying, is that if you use these other products, you got to understand you're fighting against.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Like you can use a fungicide and it's fine, but you got to realize what is the side effect of that, right? Like, and that's, I wish they would put that on the label. What are the side effects?
Yeah.
100%. Like on the drugs.
Yeah.
And then we could go and say, okay, how are we going to fix the side effect? Or is the side effect worse than my yield gain?
That's right. Well, we stopped. They told us a long time ago that this smart wheat, you do this and you put the fungicide and all those things, and every year we keep on yielding 87 bushel average. We do all the magic possible, and we said, well, this is not working.
Yeah.
Like, why don't we cut back on our nitrogen use and stop using this fungicide? We done that ourselves last year. I mean, last year was exceptionally dry, and guess what? The average was 87 bushel. We had fields that yielded 110, and we had the ones that yielded 70 into the same fields. Yeah. So, that is really interesting. I never dawned on me. It's kind of interesting how life goes like this, right? We create habits in life, right? That we thought were normal, and we thought were okay, but they probably weren't the right things for our bodies. And it was okay for a year, it was okay for 5 years, okay for 10 years, but you do that for 50 years, you do that for 60 years, and that compound effect for so many years has now created the issue you're now in, right? And you and you weren't aware of it because you were doing it every single day, right? And I think that's very common in everything in life, right? It's so hard to be aware of the stupidity that you continually do. Yeah. So okay, so you go from to Chatham now. And what was your motivation to move from Saskatchewan to Chatham? Other than you sold the farm, but why were you motivated to move to this area?
Well, it's
warmer.
It's the only area that's climate is nicer, right? There's more people. It's lifestyle is a little bit better. Yeah, it's and if we don't like it, we can always move again. It doesn't. It's always like I always say. If there's a person that builds a business, and it builds it and nice in size and everything, and he sells it, we look at that person and say, wow, look at that success. Guy or girl, success. And the farm, we seem to be, I can't sell because I've been like the 5th generation or 4th generation.
I know.
But life is too short to,
I agree.
If you feel like you got to be somewhere else, then go and be somewhere else. Yeah. You can always go back. Yeah. Where you were. Yeah. But most of the time you don't. Yeah. And, you just learn things and yeah.
It's so true.
I don't know.
So true.
If it doesn't work out, you can go back where you came from. Or
that's so cool.
where you've been,
Yeah. We don't give freedom enough for ourselves, eh?
No.
Put ourselves in a box. So how many kids you got?
I have 3.
3.
Yeah.
The oldest one is?
2. First one's twins. Just turned 17 yesterday.
17.
And 15-year-old daughter. Yeah.
So they're helping out the farm?
Lucas, yeah.
Yeah.
He's
cool.
full-time actually farming now.
So you go to school still or done?
No, he's done.
Good for him. Yeah. So what grade did he get to?
He just quit grade 11.
Grade 11. Said I'm done. Yeah. Yeah, I got grade...
he knows what he wants to do.
Yeah. I got grade 9 and 2 months of grade 10. Yeah. So, I mean, I believe like you've done all your life. You educate yourself all your life, right?
Well, and I said, do you want to not go to college? If you go to college, most what they teach I actually disagree with. So I don't know if you want to, waste your 2 years there.
Amen.
And, because I think it actually hurt me. Yeah, going to college. Yeah, because I had my mindset. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is how it works.
Yes.
And then you think you know it all, right? And then you start to realize, like, it's not what they, and it's not maybe what that's what they knew back then.
100%. It's not that they done it out of evil, but they taught you like it was the scripture.
Yeah, exactly.
And then what happens is then you walk away thinking you know it.
Yep.
Right. And the truth is no one ever knows it, just like you said.
Yep.
We're always going to be in the growth of learning. But because you condition yourself to know it, that you believe you know it, then you actually do yourself a disservice.
Yep.
Because now you're not actually trying to learn anymore.
That's what in my master, when I started my master, my teacher handed out papers, and it said on the bottom 1980. And I asked him, is that when it's 1994? You don't think anything changed since then? He said, we were always fighting. He said, that can't be.
100%.
What we knew in the 80s, don't tell me it's still true today. There has to be something that it's new, right?
Something that you learned. Yeah.
And
so true. So true. And that's what I try to emphasize with the people that work with me and for me is that, like, keep on educating yourself.
Yep.
I've never said I wouldn't pay for any courses. I didn't say I wouldn't do anything. Reach out, ask me, because and I have issues with that, even like, marketing or any other kind of stuff. Like, what are you going to learn at school? I mean, I'm not saying you're not going to. You might get some fundamentals, right? Mm-hmm. But as far as like what they taught you, it's already outdated, in certain educations.
And how they supposed to work by yourself. Then you start work, and it's all of a sudden you're supposed to work on a team. Hey, wait a second.
Right.
Nobody ever taught me how to work on the team, right? It's like,
yeah.
So
100%. No, and it's very true. And I just think that too, like our success is all about having the right people around us. You just talked about a real estate agent, right? And there's other people that you can think of probably that came into your life and that you just mentioned that helped you get to where you are, right? So everything we do is about working with the next person, right?
Yeah,
so,
it's not what you know, right? It's who you know and know where to find it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So what's the culture like different? You were in Alberta, Saskatchewan, now you're in Ontario. Like the farming culture, what's the difference in the farming culture from those three places?
Well, it's smaller here, right? Everything is smaller.
Yeah.
Farms are smaller. A lot of people farm a little bit and work still
somewhere else.
That's probably the biggest difference.
Yeah.
But farmer is a farmer. Doesn't matter where you are.
Sure.
Crops are different. Climate is different. But it's good.
It seemed like it was more of a fight in Saskatchewan, eh? The whole journey of growing a crop and everything like that.
The weather always seems to be a fight. Either it's too wet or too dry, or frost, early frost, late frost. It's wind. But seems to be that's the way farming is. It's always trying to fight. And that's the other thing we went into, nutritional farming and stuff, because I think sometimes when you work with nature, it's a little bit less of a fight versus always working against it. Just pick your fights, and it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. So learning English, was that pretty hard for you?
That was hard. It's still hard.
Yeah. I could see a little hesitation still in your voice and some of that. Yeah.
When we came, I didn't know a word. I took English back in Germany, but that was not good. Actually, working in the feedlot I was feeding cattle for 9 months, and that's pretty much where I learned most of it.
Yeah.
But
how's it been with working with Canadians?
It's good
compared to Germans. What's the difference?
Canadians are less grumpy, I guess. I don't know.
I'll tell you a story. So I was in Germany. I was going to this egg expo right there, right? The big one.
Yeah,
in Germany.
Yeah,
and so I'm out there, and I'm returning the rental car, right? So I'm returning it, and the guy just pull up here, right? And I parked it, and I don't know if Germans are this way, but he was the other guy. Like, no, it's got to go here, right? And he was like he was so determined. I was like, sir, the keys in the car. Yeah. Have a good day.
There's 80 million people, half the size of Alberta, so
Things have to
you
go in
just,
order.
This is the way they want it. And
Yes.
if not, they get grumpy. So
Yeah. There's an order for everything.
Yep.
You guys would be more that way though in general, would you not? Like be organized, have things in order. Are you not more culturally that way?
we are probably, yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually my background's Dutch. So
Similar.
it's very similar. But it's kind of funny because my grandpa used to say that he was out on the border, right? When he was born, when he was raised, and he would see the Germans would plow by using a rope or a strap or a some kind of thing that would roll it up and pull it across the farm, right? And the Dutch guys would be obviously still in the horse, right? But they had all the machinery.
Oh,
yeah, to do the work, and they'd be still doing the horse and that kind of stuff. But anyways, it's kind of interesting, just culturally. You guys are typically more running the machinery, getting machinery, and typically Germans aren't as much agriculture related people. Would that be true?
Yeah, because that's why we see all these problems right now, right? It's agriculture is not high up, right? It's
what's happening out there right now? What's happening with protesting? What are they protesting all across Europe?
Well, I don't know. I still have a friend I went to college with there, so I think the Germans just had enough when they started to tax the tractors, right, and the fuel.
Yeah, it was
the vehicle tax was the one that
which one?
Vehicle tax on tractors, right?
Vehicle tax.
Yeah.
So how do you tax vehicle tax on tractors?
Well, it's every diesel vehicle is taxed. Like if we have a diesel car, right?
Yeah.
It's a yearly tax on it.
Sure.
So you don't pay fuel tax.
That's supposed to pay for the roads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they tried to put that on the tractors.
For the roads?
Well, no, just leaving it. Yeah. And then,
I was trying to follow the reasoning.
Yeah, and then they tried to take away the fuel tax, right? Exemption.
Right.
And I think that was
the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah.
But I don't know why everybody. I think it's
that's kind of the same thing across Europe, though. Isn't it the same reason?
It's just there's too many regulations, and
telling farmers what all they have to do and they can't do.
It's just everywhere. It's
they had enough of the regulations. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just control, right? So much of it's just wanting control.
It's like there's even. Guy just told me there's even a passport. Every cow has to have a passport. And when you put it on a trailer to haul it somewhere, we got to take the passport with it and register it on the government website where you're taking it from and where you're taking it to. Like
the cow.
The cow. The problem is maybe they've watched this too long and let it go for too long.
Yes.
And now it just,
that's enough.
Like that's enough.
Yeah. They doing facial recognition on the cow, you think, or what?
I don't know. Somebody's going to come up with it. Yeah.
Look at the camera. Oh, shoot. Well, that's good, Joe. No, it's awesome talking to you. I never really would have ever. I think I would have to go through 100 farmers to have that kind of perspective on farming. So it's kind of cool.
We're just, we're just trying to do it a bit different. The way it's more fun, I think, for us.
Yeah.
Look at the environment. We always have an impact on the environment. Just what can we do to have the least amount, Just, and don't be afraid to be different.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people roll their eyes at you and,
of course,
walk away, but
they always do until you succeed.
Yeah. So, it doesn't matter. And, sometimes, don't always ask me what I'm doing because half the time I don't even know what I'm doing.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just,
yeah.
And a good example now, $4, $5 corn, $6, $7 wheat. It's like we gotta realize, like we have to know what we're doing and what can we do different to,
100%.
And take some risk, I guess, but it's always tough to take risk when you can't afford to take the risk.
Yeah.
Right?
So true. And then so often when we do take the risk, we take the inappropriate risk when we think we have the money, and soon later we pay for that, right?
And don't if you learn things, don't turn fanatic about it. That's
Right.
the other thing, I learned is like either this or I'm going completely out and do it the opposite.
Right.
That it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I would say too, have a good organic farmer friend.
have a good organic farmer friend and
Yeah.
have a good conventional farmer friend.
That's
And
true.
if you know both sides,
Yeah.
you become really
Yeah.
dangerous. It's because you know both sides.
Yeah.
And I think that's where farming has to go.
Mm-hmm.
We pick the good things from both sides
Mm.
and create a different system, I think.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Yeah, no, I have a good organic friend, and he is good, and it's amazing what he does. And you go with him, and he's talking about the worms, and he's talking about the oats and how the worms are pulling down the oats. And I'm like, what, the oats? The worms? Like, yeah, he shows it to me. I'm like, really? That's crazy.
Yeah, and
You know?
that's those are the things you learn, right? Why does the worm pull down the oats, and why does it quit pulling down the oats? Because you put a fungicide on the straw, the worm doesn't like it. There's no fungus the worm can eat, so it doesn't pull it down. And then
So
you
it's not
create more
decomposing fast
residue,
enough.
right?
Yes.
You turn your soil into bacteria dominated. The
Now you
fungus
got to
is
work
gone.
it in more. You
And
spend more
then,
money on equipment.
Like with the climate we have here, that if you have a good working soil, there should be no corn stubble left 6 weeks after harvest.
It's true.
And we're still, so there's something not right. There's something out of balance, and we got to just figure out how we put it back into balance.
All right. Well, I hope my crop consultant listens to this podcast and give us some feedback.
Yeah, crop consultants are always, if you have a good one and wants to take some risk with you, it's fine.
Yeah.
But they're always afraid, right?
I know they are.
Because if I tell you
They're
something,
kind of
and I
like
screw-
accountants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I screw up, I'm gone, right?
Yeah.
Unless you tell your guy or girl, say, listen, we can screw up.
Yeah, we can take risks.
Let's do this together
Yeah.
and figure out
Yeah.
how we change it. Because the better you do,
Yeah.
the better
Yeah.
they do, right?
Yeah.
So, but most of the time, they go on the side of caution and safety, right? And they just tell you spray a fungicide in the middle of the drought, right?
Yeah.
And then it's
Pointless.
yeah.
Yeah. You always do what you always done. You always get what you always got.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Take some
Well, that's awesome, Joe. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate
thanks
it.
for having me.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. We'll stay tuned for the next podcast. Thank you. Thanks for listening to Dirt Grow Podcast, where every Tuesday we dish out the dirt. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and check out dirtgrow.com for more content and episodes. I'll see you next Tuesday. Ciao.